Hey everybody, Scott here. So in this Plotagraph tutorial, we're going to take a tour of the various tools that we have in Plotagraph Pro to do our animations. So I have the application running here. I'm using the desktop version, but you can also run this in a browser. It looks exactly the same. And I'm going to create a new project. I call it Seed to Head. I have a photo of a lighthouse that we'll use. And I'll say create. That's just going to load up this JPEG. Then I've processed this in Lightroom and other tools before bringing it into Plotagraph. You do all your normal photo processing as you would in your standard workflow. Now, what are the various tools that we have? So at the very top on the left is kind of where you begin. You gotta really just kind of work your way down these things. You have a selection tool so you can select various areas of your photo if you needed to. You have a mask tool. And we have the area to mask and the area to animate. We use these to kind of carve up the photo pretty quickly to say these are the areas I want static, that's the area to mask, and the areas to animate where I want motion to be added. And it's as simple as like area to mask, it's just kind of dragging a line through the scene, and then Plotagraph will say, all right, I'm not going to animate anything. Well, right now it looks like I'm not animating anything at all. Well, that's true because I haven't said what I want to animate. And here I might want to animate the water and potentially the sky. So you can see very quickly it starts to carve up everything in the photo as we need it. So let's go ahead and undo those things so we can see our various photo without all these things on the screen here. We have brush tools. Now the brush tools are ways to refine your mask. You can mask in, you can mask away, you control your brush size. There's keyboard shortcuts for these. You can see right there we've got the standard bracket keys which you're used to in your other tools. So when we're going and masking, we can shrink and we can grow our brush and it works just like anything else. There's also an X key, so you can toggle between erase and mask. So you've got lots of keyboard shortcuts here. Then we have a feather preview. Now this is an odd interface, and let me actually just add a mask so we have something to look at here. What the feathering tool, the feathering tool does is it shows you what you've masked with this pretty trippy looking stylization here, and then you can also switch it over to a foreground view to say, all right, this is exactly what I've masked away. And as you adjust the sliders, you get a softening at the edges of those masks. So you kind of use this as a refinement for your mask, so you don't have any hard edges on things. Unless of course you need them, which you can leave them in or go in and tailor that mask again. Our next tool is the really fun one, animation points. Now, this is how we add motion into the photo. Add points, as you might guess, adds things in, delete points, removes things if you make a mistake. You have other tools here for generating points and custom paths and so forth. Custom paths is more of an advanced thing if you're trying to do something that might involve rotations or more motion that you need to guide as opposed to like natural motion like clouds or flowing hair or clothing moving in a breeze. Very quickly, how add points works is you drop a point on the photo and then you drag it, and then when you let go you've got kind of an orange beginning and a blue end. That's the direction of the motion, and the length of the line tells you how fast or how slow to make that motion. Longer the line, faster it goes. Last tool is the animation properties on the left side, and this is where we set things to take care of our view in Plotagraph, as well as how much we want the animation to be. Now, I usually take the animation to be up to about 3 seconds, and that's mainly for Instagram sharing. When you share something to Instagram, it wants them to be 3 seconds or longer, so I'll do that here. And the other item that's worth noting is preview of 6 frames per second. So I have a very poor animation added right now. So if I go ahead and click this play button, it's going to go off and try to start animating things. It's only going to show me the results at 6 frames a second. And that's how the preview happens quickly. And you can get an idea of what's going on and what's not going on. And so there's very little happening here because I've done not a very good job of masking. I haven't really told it much at all. And so we see this, horrible, glitch in the matrix kind of thing. But you get the idea that I'm seeing that preview happening at only 6 frames a second. So really, when you're working through a photo, you really just kind of work down the tools on the left-hand side. You add your animation and you choose where to mask away. You refine your mask with any brushing. You add some feathers to your mask, and then you add in your animation points. On the right-hand side, we have a few other tools that we can use. And these are either refinements or I like to think of them as finishing touches. And I use some of them I don't, but let's go through each one. So up at the top, we have a layers tool. Now, this is like, what do you want to see on your photo? So right now I'm seeing the mask. I have this swatch of red right through the center here. I'm seeing points where I have things. I'm seeing the lines between those points. And I can turn on this mesh. Now the mesh is more of an advanced thing. It is useful in some cases, but most of the time I find it to be a little distracting, and so I keep the mesh turned off. Next down we have contrast. So we can actually change brightness and contrast of your photo in Plotagraph. If you haven't done any type of adjustments elsewhere, you have these tools available. I tend to not use them because I'm doing my photo editing in other software. Then we have a type tool. So you can add text to your resulting photo. And that's pretty cool. If you wanted to add something in, any type of text, you've got a bunch of different fonts that you can choose from. That's a nice thing. That's a nice feature to have in there. So you don't have to export a video and then bring it into some other tool and then overlay text onto it. You can do all of that within Plotagraph. Hand tool, pretty sure you kind of get what that does. You move around your scene, assuming you have used the zoom tool to zoom in. Now you can zoom in all the way up to 900%. I've never had the reason to go beyond a couple of hundred, but what this does is you can really zoom in here and get in depth, in detail with all of the various edges that you have in your photo. If you're needing to refine your masks or refine your animation, this is a great way to do it. And when you run a preview, you can still see the preview running at 6 frames a second when you're zoomed in. And last, we have a crop tool. You can crop in on your scene. Maybe you want to export a square video, but you didn't want to change your photo, whatever the reason might be, but you've got the cropping ability in Plotagraph as well. When you're all done with your project, you'd go ahead and do a file and export as, and you can export it as a variety of types, as well as in a variety of sizes. MP4, very good for Instagram, and usually maybe 750 to 1024 pixels. You can also do animated GIF or GIF, depending on how you like to pronounce that. Same type of thing. And you can control how much of the animation loop you want it to be. We started with 3 seconds when I changed that in the animation properties. And you can have that loop however many times you want it to loop, up to 45 seconds. That is the tour of the basic tools that we have in Plotagraph Pro. The next video, we're going to put these tools to work and create an animation.